And in Ukraine, fighters from the Hora Special Unit share details of a difficult and extremely important operation in the Donetsk region. There, holding the forest belt became one of the key elements in liberating the entire village.
4 Special Forces soldiers held their positions despite enemy artillery fire and numerous assaults. The footage and memories of the Artan fighters collected by Rostislav Sesoyev are unique, and you will see them for the first time.
Steppes and forest belts scarred by war. This is northern Donetsk region, the Lyman direction, where the special unit of the Defense Intelligence Artan operates. The fighters have to cover what may be the toughest kilometers of their lives. They have to move both quickly and carefully because enemy drones are spying from the sky and there could be ambushes along the way.
The groups had to cover a distance of about 6 to 7 kilometers, which was quite a considerable journey just to reach the designated assembly point. From there, the actual assault actions and operations finally began.
And then came the hardest part, to capture enemy positions in the forest belt near Novomikhailivka and hold them at all costs for as long as possible.
We called this forest strip the matchstick because it was elongated and connected 2 forest belts.
This 20-year-old guy with the call sign Ptak also joined the assault on enemy positions.
This is the first one. My first combat mission, my first baptism by fire.
He says he didn't let his comrades down, but he was wounded and is now in the hospital.
In total, we spent 10 days there and did our job as we should.
Several assault groups were involved in the operation. After heavy fighting, only 4 soldiers remained intact and combat ready. It was they who recaptured the positions and they chose a good spot for defense.
We simply chose a part of the grove where we were surrounded by very sturdy trees with good canopies. On top, in order to avoid being seen by thermal imagers, we carefully stretched a poncho. We also set up 2 machine guns, sometimes just 1, but usually 2 for better coverage, and we had 2 more, which were just regular rifles chosen for their accuracy. So we had crossfire, and those positions with the machine guns set up for crossfire had the opportunity to come out and fire more accurately.
In other words, the Russians couldn't see the Ukrainian Special Forces, but they tried to wipe out this forest strip. With drones and artillery, they sent their assault groups into battle.
He didn't survive.
Provisions were delivered to the guys by drones. Ammunition was also dropped from the air.
It wasn't that bad, because honestly, we didn't really feel like eating. With all that adrenaline and lack of water, we dealt with it very simply. When it rained, we collected the rainwater and filtered it. The PBK basically, after I think the first 2 assaults, both of which were quite exhausting, we were starting to run out a bit, so in the middle of the night, after things had quieted down, we found some parts from our belts and began carefully assembling belts from loose rounds that had been made for us at the machine shop. This process took some time and required patience, as we wanted to make sure everything was done properly and safely, given the circumstances.
So, 4 Ukrainian soldiers held a critically important tree line on which the success of the operation to liberate Novomikhailivka depended.
Everyone did their job, I'd say, at 95% because, well, you can't do what the stars won't allow. That's why everyone showed that they can and will do what they need to do.
The liberation of Novomikhailivka in northern Donetsk region is a joint operation of the Main Intelligence Directorate and the 3rd Assault Brigade.
With the 3rd Brigade, there is complete mutual understanding and cooperation, and we support each other. Whenever we take part, our Department of Active Operations is with us, which is part of the special unit Latan. They always support us and help with artillery, drones, and other aspects.
Novomikhailivka was liberated at the end of August. According to the Defense Intelligence, this improved the tactical position and strengthened the defensive line along the entire front. Rostislav Sesoyev, We Are Ukraine Marathon, United News.
An effective weapon that is changing the rules on the battlefield, and not just there. Their missiles are capable of striking targets deep behind enemy lines and destroying Russian columns at the front line. The enemy fears them, but also actively hunts for them. This is about multiple launch rocket systems, HIMARS and the M270 MLRS. People constantly hear about them, celebrate their strikes, but almost no one sees how they actually work. And these systems have repeatedly launched long-range ATACMS strikes against the Russians. The enemy doesn't even spare Iskanders for such equipment. But our war correspondent, Ole Kornienko, got an exclusive opportunity to be on combat duty with these American MLRS and experience the power of these legendary systems firsthand.
It quickly reaches its firing position and is ready to deliver a deadly strike in just a matter of seconds.
Everyone has heard about their work, and we've seen videos of their spectacular hits more than once. It was this very equipment that during the counter-offensive helped us destroy Russians both in the Kharkiv and Kherson regions. These are HIMARS, the already legendary HIMARS. Now they are operating here in Donetsk region, striking at enemy rear positions.
These are unique shots. In 3 years of full-scale invasion, almost no one has ever filmed the work of the HIMARS. And no one has ever stood this close to such American multiple launch rocket systems. Meanwhile, the enemy is really feeling the heat from the HIMARS work. The chances of surviving its strike are almost zero. But today, the American multiple launch rocket system will target an enemy column. The Russians were advancing toward the Dobropilia direction with heavy equipment. The crew is already prepared to strike. But suddenly, the order to abort comes in. The HIMARS quickly leaves the field. Standing here like this is extremely dangerous. The enemy wouldn't hesitate to use an Iskander missile on such a target. After a brief pause, the crew receives new coordinates and heads back to the firing position.
So basically, they've fired the HIMARS, it's no longer visible, there's a smoke screen, and the rocket is already heading toward the occupiers.
The enemy column starts to burn, while the HIMARS crew races off to reload. Most people jokingly call the HIMARS the ghost of the front line. It fires quickly and then vanishes just as fast. This crew hasn't slept since 4 in the morning. Reload, strike, and again.
Everything in its entirety. In a smooth, perfect circle.
17 armored vehicles, a tank, and more infantry on motorcycles. The Russians stubbornly keep pushing toward the Dobropilia direction. At the same time, they're being stopped by HIMARS, drone operators, and another American multiple launch rocket system. It's almost like a HIMARS, but it's on tracks and a bit older. This MLRS was developed back in the 1980s, but despite its age, it's maneuverable. And any other rocket system would envy its power. So the MLRS has special targets.
There were several large cannons, fortified command posts, advanced UAV control points, and organized infantry units. There were bunkers, there were structures.
The enemy is also hunting the M270, just like the HIMARS. The MLRS can fire not only 227mm rockets, but also send much more powerful ones at the enemy. For example, ATACMS. They can strike at several hundred kilometers.
We had them, we used them, and we use them quite often. I can't tell you about the targets, that's a question for the command. They are much more effective because you can hit targets on enemy territory and the range is significantly increased. Plus, they are harder to shoot down or jam with the same radar.
Few people ever see these crews, but they are always working on the hottest fronts. Rockets launched from HIMARS and M270 are among the most painful blows to the enemy. And as long as our partners keep supplying rockets without interruption, these MLRS are never idle, never standing still.
Everything is done very quickly. It takes about 20 to 25 minutes to get ready to fire. Here it only takes about 5 minutes and the job is done. The rocket is already flying toward the enemy.
The soldiers themselves say that the appearance of such multiple launch rocket systems has significantly influenced the course of combat operations. The enemy can't feel safe either near the front line or deep in the rear. A strike can come anywhere. The main thing is the range of the rockets.
The longest range ones can go up to 500 kilometers, but we aren't given those. But you'd like to have them, right? Well, yes, then we could reach Moscow, but I personally didn't want to.
Oleg Kornienko, Fakta CTV. United News.